This is Dr. Lakshminarayana, Associate Professor, Department of Mathematics, Vardhaman College of Engineering. In this video, I'm going to explain about test of significance for single proportion. This is applicable for large sample test. We can call as Z test for single proportion. See, when it is applicable, if you see this, suppose a large random sample of size n has a sample proportion P of members possessing a certain attribute, that is proportions of success, and to test the hypothesis that the proportions P in the population has a specified value. So as for working rules point of view, null hypothesis, first working rule is null hypothesis, that we can denote it as H0 colon P is equal to P0. Second rule is alternative hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis we can mention as H1 colon P not equal to P0, or P less than P0, or P greater than P0. As per the given problem, we have to decide which one is applicable. Next, level of significance point of view. This is the third working rule. We can use a specified level of significance. Next, test statistic. So what is the formula is applicable that we have to mention it. So that is Z is equal to small p minus capital P divided by standard error of P. Instead of standard error of P, we can write it as root of P cube by n. So total formula, we can write it as small p minus capital P divided by root of P cube by n, where small p is called sample proportion, capital P is called population proportion. Next, critical value. This critical value we can find out from the normal tables. Conclusion point of view, whenever Z calculated value is less than Z table value, we have to accept null hypothesis. And Z calculated value is greater than Z table value, we can reject null hypothesis. Even Z calculated value less than or equal to Z table value also, we can accept null hypothesis. And as per the rejection rule, okay, so these are the values where we have to reject it. This even in the previous video also we discussed. At 1% level, critical region for two-tailed test, Z greater than 2.58, we have to reject H0. For 5% point of view, 1.96, we have to reject H0. Z calculated is greater than 1.645. Okay, we have to reject H0 at 10% level of significance. The same way, the remaining values also mentioned where we have to reject null hypothesis. Now we'll discuss example based on Z test for single proportion. See this, a manufacturer claimed that at least 95% of the equipment which he supplied to a factory conformed to specifications. An examination of a sample of 200 pieces of equipment revealed that 18 were faulty. Test his claim at 5% level of significance. If you observe it, here they mentioned at least 95% of equipment supplied to a factory conformed to specifications, and as well as the sample size is 200 pieces, and out of that 18 were faulty. This information, based on this information, you have to decide it which model is applicable. If you see this we can convert as capital P, population proportion, and this is the sample size n, and out of that 18 were faulty. This we can utilize as x. Based on this one, we can decide single proportion is applicable. So based on the working rules of hypothesis, the first working rule is null hypothesis. In the short form, we can write it as H0. H0 P is equal to 0.95. And second working rule is H1, the P less than 0.95. Because 95% and above 95% we consider as a acceptance region. Only less than 95% we consider as rejection region. Third working rule is level of significance. We will test at a 5% level of significance. Here they mentioned where we have to test it. So at a 5% level, we have to test it. So test at a 5% level of significance. The fourth working rule is test statistics. The test statistic is Z is equal to small p minus capital P divided by root of capital P capital Q divided by n. In this, small p we can call as a sample proportion, capital P we can call as population proportion. N is the sample size. So that we will write it as where small p is equal to sample proportion, we will find out as x by n. And capital P we can call as population proportion, and based on that we can find out capital Q, that is 1 minus capital P. Now under calculation, the fifth working rule is calculation. So under calculation, here n is equal to 200 and x we can denote it as 200 minus 18, which is equal to 182, because the capital P they mention as 95%, we can treat as a good proportion. So that is why even x also we should consider as a good proportion. So small p is equal to x by n, that is equal to 182 divided by 200. So that is 0.91. And z is equal to small p minus capital P divided by root of capital P capital Q divided by n, which is equal to 0.91 minus 0.95 divided by under root 0.95 into 0.05 200. If you simplify this, you will get 2.59. So therefore, Z calculated value is 2.59, and as well as Z tab value at 5% level of significance under left tailed test. Left tailed test is 1.645. If you observe it, Z calculated value is 2.59, Z table value is 1.645. So Z calculated value is greater than Z table value. So that's why we should reject H0. So that is what we will confirm here. So Z calculated value is greater than Z table value. So we reject H0. It means that whatever the items they supplied, it's not up to the mark. We'll discuss the second example. If you see this, in a sample of 1,000 people in Karnataka, 540 are rice eaters and the rest are wheat eaters. Can we assume that both rice and wheat eaters are equally popular in this state at 1% level of significance? If you observe it, here the sample size 1,000 and out of 1,000, 540 are rice eaters. It means we can find out the proportion value by using of these two values. So as per the working rules, the first working rule is null hypothesis, which is denoted as H0. So that we can take it as P is equal to half. Because rice eaters and wheat eaters are equally popular. They mentioned a statement, rice eaters and wheat eaters are equally popular. As per this statement, we can write null hypothesis statement as H0 colon P is equal to half. Second one is H1, alternative hypothesis. So P not equal to half. We can mention two-tailed test. So third one is level of significance. So test at 1% level of significance as mentioned above. Fourth working rule is test statistics. That is Z is equal to small p minus capital P divided by under root capital P capital Q divided by n with modulus. Here is small p is equal to x by n and capital Q is equal to 1 minus capital P. Calculation. Fifth working rule is calculation. Here n is equal to 1000 and x is equal to 540. So small p is equal to x by n. So 540 divided by 1000, which is equal to 0.54. Next, capital P already we mentioned, that is 0.5, and capital Q is equal to 1 minus capital P, which is equal to 0.5 only. So therefore Z is equal to, as per the formula, small p minus capital P divided by root of PQ by n. We'll substitute in that formula. 0.54 minus 0.5 under root 0.5 into 0.5 divided by 1000. So which is equal to, if you simplify this one, you will get it to do 2.532. If we simplified this, we can write it as 2.532. So this is Z calculated value. And Z table value we can find out using of this information. One is a two-tail test, and at 1% level of significance we are testing. So two-tail test 1% level is 2.58. So therefore Z calculated value is less than Z table value. Therefore we accept H0. As per the given statement, the rice eaters and white eaters are equally popular. Thank you.